It was Saturday evening, June 3, 2023, around 6:30 p.m. The sun was setting behind the houses, painting the sky in soft shades of orange and pink. On a quiet street in a small town, a man stood next to an old, rusty car. His hands shook slightly, not from cold, but from worry. His name was Tom. He worked long hours just to keep his little family going. But tonight, all that mattered was his daughter, Sophie. Inside the house, laughter and music floated through the open window. Sophie was spinning in a dress that didn't belong to her. She had been dreaming of this day for months, the school dance she couldn't wait to attend. And Tom, he wanted nothing more than to see her smile, to see her feel special. Only there was a problem. He didn't have the money to buy her the dress she deserved. He looked at the car, his old car that had carried him through years of work and sacrifice. It wasn't just a car, it was a piece of his life. And yet, as he watched Sophie laugh through the window, a thought took hold. What if he sold it? Could he do it? Could he give up something he loved so she could have a night she'd never forget? Just then, around 6:45 p.m., a car slowly pulled up across the street. Tom didn't recognize it. He didn't know the driver, and he certainly didn't know that this moment, this quiet evening, this choice, would turn into a story that neither he nor Sophie would ever forget. By 7:10 p.m., Tom had made his way into town. The little dress shop on Main Street smelled faintly of lavender and new fabric. He ran his fingers over the rows of dresses, none of them feeling quite right. Every dress he picked up seemed too expensive, too delicate, too out of reach. He closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of Sophie's smile, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about the dance. That was the only guide he needed. Finally, he found it. A simple, soft pink dress with a subtle shimmer that caught the light like a quiet promise. It wasn't the most expensive dress in the store. It wasn't even new. But Tom could feel, deep down, that it was perfect for her. He handed over the money he had saved, counting bills and coins until his hands shook. The cashier gave him a warm smile, wishing Sophie a wonderful evening. Tom nodded, his throat tight with emotion, and tucked the dress carefully into a bag, carrying it like a treasure as he walked back to the car. Sophie hugged him tightly, spinning in the dress for the first time, feeling the fabric brush against her skin, imagining herself at the dance, glowing. Tom watched, his chest heavy with a mix of pride and exhaustion, knowing that he had given up something important so she could have this joy. Outside, the sky was deepening into evening, and the street lamps flickered on, casting long shadows across the driveway. It was quiet. Too quiet. Then, a low hum of an engine broke the silence. A car, unfamiliar and polished, rolled slowly to a stop in front of their house. Tom's heart skipped a beat. He didn't recognize it, and for a moment, neither of them moved. The stranger inside the car remained still, watching, as if waiting for something to happen. Neither Tom nor Sophie could guess that this quiet, ordinary evening was about to change forever. Tom's hands tightened around the bag holding Sophie's dress as the car's engine hummed outside. The stranger stepped out slowly, a man in his mid-40s, dressed simply, with a calm expression that didn't match the shine of the car he drove. He walked up the driveway without a word, stopping a few feet away from Tom. For a moment, time seemed to slow. Tom's chest felt tight. Sophie clutched his hand, her eyes wide, sensing something important was about to happen. The man cleared his throat and smiled. "Evening," he said softly. "I think I might know you." His eyes flicked to the old car parked by the curb. Tom's heart skipped. The man continued, "I recently bought your car. I didn't know the story behind it until now, but I thought I should come by and say hello." Tom's brow furrowed. The car had been gone for months. What could this stranger possibly want? Sophie's curiosity overpowered her shyness. She stepped forward, holding the dress bag close. "Dad sold it," she whispered. Tom nodded, feeling a lump in his throat. The stranger knelt slightly, as if to meet Sophie's gaze. "I wanted to thank you for taking such good care of it," he said, his voice gentle. "I've driven it every day, and I always remembered the love that went into keeping it safe." That kind of care isn't something you see often." Tom's eyes widened. He hadn't expected this. Sophie's hand squeezed his tighter, and for a moment, the weight of the evening shifted. The stranger straightened and glanced at Sophie's dress, noticing the bag in her arms. "That dress," he said carefully. "I don't know the story, but I can tell it's something special. Whoever it's for is lucky to have someone who cares so much." Tom felt a warmth spread through him, a mix of relief and pride. Sophie's cheeks flushed as she realized how much her father had sacrificed, and the stranger's words made that sacrifice feel seen, even by someone who didn't know them. For a few quiet moments, they stood there, the three of them under the soft glow of the street lamp. The man smiled once more, reached into his pocket, and pulled out a small envelope. "Consider this a little thank you," he said, "for taking care of something that mattered so much." Tom hesitated, then took it, feeling the weight of more than just paper. It was acknowledgement, respect, and a quiet kindness he hadn't expected. Sophie looked up at him, eyes shining, realizing that sometimes the world returns a little of the love we give, even in ways we never anticipate. The stranger waved, got into his car, and drove off slowly, leaving behind a silence filled with emotion, reflection, and the sense that a small act of care can ripple farther than we imagine. After the stranger drove away, the quiet of the street felt different, almost lighter. Tom closed the door behind him, still holding the envelope. He opened it carefully and found a small card and a folded note. The words inside were simple, yet they carried a weight that made his chest tighten. "Thank you for caring. It made all the difference." Alongside it was a small gift card, enough to cover groceries for the week, a gesture that seemed small, yet felt enormous after the day he had endured. Sophie watched him, curiosity shining in her eyes. "Dad, he knew?" she asked softly. Tom shook his head, swallowing the lump in his throat. "No, sweetheart," he said. "He didn't know us. He just saw the care we put into something. Sometimes, people notice the little things." Sophie ran her fingers over the fabric of her new dress, spinning once more, and laughed. "I think he wanted to help us," she said, her voice light but sincere. Tom nodded, realizing that the world could surprise you with kindness when you least expected it. Later that evening, after Sophie was tucked into bed, Tom sat at the kitchen table, the envelope still in front of him. He thought about the choices he had made, the long hours, the sold car, the careful saving of every dollar. And the reward wasn't just in the gift or the note, but in seeing Sophie's joy, in knowing that love had guided every step. It was quiet, but it was full. He felt seen, understood, and most importantly, connected to his daughter in a way that money or objects could never measure. The next morning, Sophie ran to the window and looked out at the street, expecting nothing, imagining the stranger had gone. And yet, the memory of that small act of kindness stayed with her, a gentle reminder that people could care in unexpected ways. Tom poured coffee for himself, the warmth of the cup seeping through his hands, and smiled at the thought that tonight, Sophie would walk into her dance feeling special, loved, and confident. That small choice he had made to give her that dress had echoed farther than he could have imagined, touching hearts beyond just their own. And in that quiet morning, the house felt lighter, brighter. The world, full of ordinary streets and ordinary people, had shifted for a moment, shaped by a father's love and a stranger's simple, thoughtful gesture. The gift of care, respect, and attention had completed a circle, leaving a lasting impression that neither Tom nor Sophie would ever forget. That evening, as the lights in the house dimmed and the quiet settled around them, Tom sat in the living room, Sophie's laughter from earlier still echoing softly in his mind. He thought about the choices he had made, the long hours at work, the careful saving, the decision to part with the car he loved so much. Every sacrifice had been for her, and now, seeing her joy and confidence, he felt a calm satisfaction he hadn't felt in years. It wasn't about the money, the objects, or recognition. It was about love, the kind that drives you to put someone else's happiness above your own. Sophie sat nearby, holding the dress in her lap, her small fingers tracing the shimmer in the fabric. She looked up at her father and said quietly, "I know why you did it, Dad. Thank you." In that moment, words weren't necessary for Tom to understand that the gift of care, sacrifice, and attention had reached deeper than he could have imagined. The stranger's visit, the envelope, the note, they were all reminders that kindness doesn't exist in isolation. One act can ripple quietly through lives, connecting people in ways we often never see. Life doesn't always offer grand gestures or loud recognition. Sometimes, the most meaningful moments are the small, careful choices we make every day. Tom had given Sophie a dress, but he had also given her a lesson in love, generosity, and resilience. And in turn, a stranger's thoughtfulness reflected back on him, a quiet echo of goodness that reminded them both how connected the world can be when people notice, care, and act. If this story touched your heart, remember that even small acts of love can create lasting change. Share this moment with someone who needs hope, and let them know that kindness is never wasted. Subscribe to the Empathy Room for more stories that celebrate quiet courage, selfless love, and the unexpected ways the world can remind us that caring matters. Because sometimes, the simplest gestures leave the strongest marks, and the smallest acts can shine the brightest in someone else's life.